Okay, so now that we've added the ability for our player to respawn, let's start adding some things into the world so that we can actually have a bit more interaction with our game. And the first thing we want to do is create an additional way for our player to die. So we're going to create some spikes that if the player walks into them, they'll get killed and sent back to respawn again. So to do that, of course, we're going to need a piece of art to do it with. So we'll open our sprites image here, and we'll scroll down. We'll find our spike sprites here. They're number 70, just in case you can't find them yourself. And we'll just drag it into the scene there like that. And we're going to rename them to just be spikes. So we know we have our kill box. When our player enters to the kill box, he'll get killed. But instead of adding a whole load of stuff to our player to look out for like different kinds of dangers and things like that, we're going to do a special script that we're going to put onto the spikes here, and that we're going to be able to reuse for other different dangerous elements within our world. We're going to write that so that will kill the player automatically for us, and we won't have to create a whole load more stuff to go into the player's script. Of course, we could also just set the kill box or kill plane tag onto these spikes here, but in the future we're going to want to have a bit of a health system in place so that our player doesn't instantly get killed straight away. Maybe they might be able to take a couple of hits before they die. So if we're going to want to do that, we don't want every object to just instantly kill the player. But for now, we'll have this special script attached to this that for now is going to kill the player, but in the future we'll just be doing a little bit of damage. So obviously we're going to need to create that script. So let's go into our scripts folder here, and we're going to create a new C# script that we're going to call Hurt Player. And we're going to open this up here, and we get rid of this little error thing. And like I said, for now we're just going to make it kill the player. So we know that our level manager is what is making us respawn when we die. So we need to do the same thing that we've done previously, and we need to create a reference to that level manager. So here we'll say private level manager, and we'll say the level manager. And then in our start function, just like we did before, we want to say the level manager is equal to find object of type level manager. So that'll find our only level manager in the world, and it'll know which one we're wanting to talk about here. And so down here, we're not going to use the update again, but we're going to use the same way we have for the player controller, where we check to see if the player entered the kill plane or if the player entered the checkpoint. But here we're going to check and see if the player itself is what has walked into the spikes. So we're just going to do the same thing again of typing our void on trigger enter 2D collider 2D other. And we always want to make sure we're working with the 2D colliders. When we have the autocomplete kind of text here within MonoDevelop, if we start typing collider, we will get a value for collider itself, but that's for a 3D version. So we want to make sure we're working with the 2D version. So we always want to make sure we're going with collider 2D. And I didn't spell other properly, but there we go. Okay, so again, we're just going to do the same kind of if statement that we had before. Basically the exact same what we had in our player controller. So the other.tag is equal to something. So here we're going to say if other.tag is equal to player. Because we know, if we go back to Unity here and click on our player, the tag we have set for him is the player. So we will close this bracket now, and we will decide what we're going to do within here. And the thing we want to do is on our level manager, which I don't actually have open. Let's just open this up here. Level manager, we have this whole thing that starts a coroutine that will wait a certain amount of time between killing the player and respawning them. So we want to use that. So we want to call the respawn function. So just like we did on our player controller, when we entered the tag, we did the level manager.respawn. We're going to do the same thing on our hurt player here. We're going to say the level manager.respawn. And we're going to save that, and that's all we need to do to create this very simple little script that's going to be able to be reused over and over for different objects. So the only thing missing from the spikes right now, as we just wait for it to compile, the only thing missing from that is a box collider to show or for our player to be able to walk into and actually take damage. So we're going to add a component. We're going to say box collider 2D. We're going to make sure that it's a trigger like that. And at the moment, it's the full size of the sprite that the spikes are in. And that's obviously way too big. If our player jumps over these spikes and jumps into this whole area here, he'll still get caught by them, and that's no good to us. So what we want to do is shrink this down. So we're going to make the X size, no, not the X size, sorry, the Y size. We're going to shrink this down to be about, we'll set it to be 0.5. And then on our Y axis here, we want to make this go down. So if you hold and drag on the Y itself, you can move it up and down like that. Or if you enter a number value, like minus 0.25, we'll get it kind of a little bit more close to the right size. It's still a little bit too big, and what we actually want to do is make this smaller than the spikes themselves. If we were to make it so that, say, it went to about there, what you can see is the corners here. Again, if the player jumped over that and just barely missed it, they will know that they just barely missed it, but the game will think, oh no, you hit that spike, so you're dead. So what we actually want to do is make it a little bit smaller than the spikes, like that. Actually, we'll just pull it down a bit because we've made it small now. So round about there, actually a tiny bit smaller than that, even there we go. And we want to make the X size a little bit smaller as well. So we'll pull that in like that, so that we're actually only getting damage if we walk into this bit of the block. But it makes the game feel a bit more flexible, and you're not worried so much about if your player gets killed and they think, oh no, I didn't hit those spikes, why did I get killed there? You don't want that happening. So you always want to make it a little bit smaller than whatever threat you have in your world. You want to make it a little bit smaller so that it removes that kind of element of doubt from the player. Okay. So let's grab this spike and let's put him in place. So we're going to move him over to, say, here. I'm going to do the thing of holding V again to click it so that it snaps right into place like that. And we should see, if we hit play here now, as soon as we get over to that spike, jump over a few things here, land on top. Nope, we had nothing happening because we didn't attach the script to the spikes. So obviously nothing's going to work unless you actually remember to attach the script itself. So we need to attach our hurt player script, because obviously if we don't have something to tell the player to get hurt, nothing will happen in the game. So we'll run over to it again. We should see, bam, the player disappears and then gets sent back. The only problem with this is fine for when we drop off the world like this and we know, okay, we've dropped off the screen, we're dead. But when we're here and we walk into the spike and we just kind of disappear, that doesn't really look the greatest. So we need something to signify when our player gets killed. Just a little simple effect that will show, okay, something bad happened here, now you're going to be sent backwards. So we're going to do that next by looking at particle effects.